Hi, friends. Thanks for joining me for a moment. I'm Dr. Carol. Uh, who do you want to be? We're at the start of a new year, and there's often a lot of talk about, resolutions or goals. But much more important than any of the things that you do is who you will become. And that's what I want to talk about for just a minute here. Who do you want to become? Let's say by this time next year. You have a lot of choice in that very thing. The things that you do along the way, the investments that you make will determine who you will become. And I want to share with you three key ingredients, three key things to do that will help you become who you most deeply desire to be. And I believe who God wants you to be as well. This gets to the character, the matters of the heart, the things that are deeper than just the external, success or not success by the standards of, culture or society. Who you are becoming as a human being, as a person. What can you do to invest in that, in your character, becoming something of goodness, the kind of person God originally created you to be, also? Well, the first idea that I want to share with you is that of what you take in, the nourishment, the food that you feed your soul. You are what you eat. Uh, you've heard that as far as the nutrition, the literal physical food that you eat. And that is so important. But I'm talking about the nourishment that your soul, your character is taking in. If most of what you take in is superficial or negative, maybe angry or divisive or discouraging or not godly, uh, you can't help but become more like that. It's a law of human nature that your brain, your who you are on the inside becomes like what you feed it. So, what kind of nourishment are you feeding your soul these days? And the kind of nourishment your soul takes in is going to determine who you become, uh, who you are becoming. Some of that healthy nourishment. I want to encourage you to include outdoors, God's green earth. There's beauty. There's life. Include some time outdoors, because that's a very different way of nourishing your soul than just all the human made stuff that most of us spend most of our hours in. And then the media that you take in, it has never been easier to choose what kind of nourishment your soul gets. Of course, culture will offer you a whole bunch of junk food for your soul. Um, the magazines and music and billboards and social media and TV shows that are primarily entertainment or divisive or bad news or whatever. Uh, Social media, we are the more connected generation than ever in our world today. In other words, we have more ability to connect with people, but also lonelier than ever, the loneliness epidemic, because those kinds of superficial connections don't really nourish our souls. So, in all of that availability of food for your soul, you get to choose. Just like with our physical food, God makes an infinite variety available, but we have to decide when we're hungry and to choose the appropriate food and actually take it into our being, actually eat it. Well, it's like that with nourishment for your soul too. So the books, the podcasts, the videos, um, those kinds of things that truly lift you up. If you became more like what your mind is paying attention to most of the time, Would that be a good thing? You get to choose. So, the first way of becoming who you most deeply desire to be is pay attention to the nourishment your mind, your soul gets. Number two, hang out with winners. The law of human nature that we referenced, that applies here too. You can't help but become more like the people that you spend most time hanging out with. You will develop the same wealth habits, money habits, the same health habits, the same relationship habits, etc., as that of the people you spend most of your time with and invest most with. Think of the people that you're around most. Are they going somewhere in life that you want to go? Like, not identically, but are they moving in a direction that's a similar direction to who you want to be? You know, dealing with their money or their time or their families, their relationships, their friendships, their spiritual life. Are they becoming someone you want to become? Because if so, hanging around them, you'll just pick up mindsets and attitudes and habits that are putting you in that same direction. If the people you're spending time with aren't going somewhere you would like to go, well, maybe you need to get some new friends. And oh, I know that's hard. You don't want to have to do the work of finding different relationships, but you might need to. You might need to intentionally look for a few people that you can connect with who are going in a direction you want to go. So, the three things I want to share with you today about becoming who you want to be. First, pay attention to the nourishment your soul gets. Second, hang out with winners. And then, number three, spend time in the presence of God. Again, you cannot help but become more like that which you soak yourself in. If you spend time in the presence of God, you will become more like Jesus. And that really is God's deepest goal for all of us. His goal for you is not that you follow a certain checklist of behaviors. His goal for you is that you become like Jesus, that you think like, act like, talk like, walk like, live like, kind of smell like, you have the fragrance, the effect on people that Jesus did. Well, you need to spend time with him in order for that to happen. I think of the people who spent time with Jesus when he was physically here on earth. Peter and John, two of the disciples, spent a few years with Jesus, and then shortly after Jesus returned to heaven, they were hauled in front of the Jewish council, the Sanhedrin. Peter and John were uneducated, fishermen, uncouth, rough, and afraid. Think of how they responded when Jesus was arrested and then crucified. They were hiding behind closed doors, terrified. Well, a few weeks later, when they got hauled in front of the council, they were bold. Everything about them was different. And Acts 4 says that the leaders, the Jewish leaders, took knowledge of them that they had been with Jesus. They became different by hanging out with Jesus. You will become different by hanging out in the presence of God. That can be, of course, through spending time with other believers who are also following Jesus, but then also your own personal time with God. If your time with God has been inconsistent, you're not sure how to do it, it seems boring, unfruitful, well, maybe you need to do something a bit different in your time with Jesus. Even if you just have a few minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, my encouragement to you is take a moment to be present. This isn't reading something as you walk out the door. This is taking a moment to be present. Make sure your body is physically present. Make sure your emotions are centered let Jesus know how you're feeling, what's worrying you or scaring you or making you feel angry or exciting you. Just a moment to let your emotional self be present. Tell him what you're feeling and then get quiet for a minute. Listen to what he might have to say to you. If that's all you do, that will make a difference. So I hope that's helpful for you today. Thank you so much for spending a few minutes with me. Make sure to subscribe to this channel. Love to see your comments and questions. I'll try to come here regularly every week, as often as I can for some lives here like this. And if you subscribe to our channel, you'll also get the uh, weekly conversations that I have with other special guests on our podcast. So thank you for being part of our family, and God bless you.